Hello everyone, welcome to Men on Fire. My name is Mike Aren, a former mechanic and engineer turned transformational teacher. And each week I'll deliver an inspiring message to help you excavate those repressed inner negative feelings and install new thoughts that will finally allow you to truly become the person you were born to be. Hello everyone, and thank you so much for listening to another episode of Men on Fire here on Soul Mechanic Radio. And I'm excited to welcome our very first guest today. Her name is Susan Burrell, and she will be joining us very shortly. This recording was initially done via Zoom, and Susan lives in California, so about 3,000 miles or 5,000 kilometers away. But it went very well. The audio was not quite as good quality as it was recorded. That's how old I am. Said taped. Recorded over Zoom. So the interview was a video and audio interview, and you will be able to watch the entire video and audio presentation on Soul Mechanic TV, which is on YouTube. And just search for Mike Aren, Soul Mechanic TV, and you will find the presentation up there as well. So, without further ado, let's get started. Welcome, and welcome to another episode of Men on Fire. And today I have a special treat for you. You're going to enjoy my guest today. I know normally it's a solo show, but I have a guest for you today, and it's a she. And I know this is normally a show for men, but I think we can learn a lot if we listen to women's perspective as well. Her name is Susan Burrell, and Susan says, and I quote, "She is a feisty Scorpio who has navigated life by learning how to listen within to the divine urge that keeps pointing me in the direction of life's purpose." This alone really tells us all we probably need to know about her. However, she continues, "Mostly, I love supporting women in their inner growth toward finding their true empowerment. I teach what I have personally learned and navigated in my life. I have learned how to be with my dark side and to weed out the junk that harms or no longer serves me. I have rediscovered myself after feeling that my heart and my life were shattered beyond repair, only to realize my true self, the one I was meant to be, was hidden under the rubble and shards of a seemingly broken life." Susan is an empath, which means she has a unique ability to tune into, understand, and share the feelings of others. Although this podcast is geared towards men, oftentimes we find the guidance we need from others that possess a different perspective. And you may learn a thing or two that may help you in your own relationships as well. Okay, as promised, the guest of the day is Susan Burrell. I was lucky enough to meet her at a New Media Summit in San Diego not too long ago. And I had the pleasure of sitting beside her, and we chatted quite a bit and became friends. And now she's here as my very first guest on Men on Fire. And Susan, don't worry about the title Men on Fire, because I purposely want women on here as well, because I think, of course, that men can glean a lot from the perspective of women and learn more about themselves. I think that everybody has a male and a female perspective, and we need to learn more about that as we move along. So you have a story that has a dark side to it too, but you've come out on the other end. And I was wondering maybe if you could tell us a little bit about your personal journey. And you had mentioned on your website that you kind of were able to weed out the junk, which I like that phrase very much. And if I wondered if you wouldn't mind telling us about your journey to empowerment.
Okay, thank you. Oh my goodness, I have so much I want to share with you, Mike. So my personal journey, I'll address that first, and then I want to go back to the whole masculine, feminine thing, because
I got you going on that.
Right, you did. I was like, oh. But so my journey, one of the journeys, once we live life long enough, we've all been on multiple different kinds of journeys, right? It's all it all kind of seems together as what we call a lifetime. But there's definitely journey pockets of, really great stuff and really not so great stuff.
Yeah.
And I think we all have that. And one of the dark places that I was in was when it was very clear that my marriage of 28 years was done. And my heart was shattered, and my whole body broke out in hives from suppressed rage that no doctor could touch because they thought it was a physical, thing, but it was really a spiritual and emotional eruption of rage, and it wasn't just about the marriage ending, but probably it was about my entire life. So when you say men on fire, right? There's another component to what fire can be and bring. And so for me, it was really learning how to, I think this is true for any human being, male or female, but really learning how to honor my emotions and recognize that I was having, instead of doing what I'd always done, which was suppress it, make it go away, put on the perfect whatever face, get through it. I really had to begin to honor when emotions started happening. And I had some cues, like getting really dizzy.
Wow.
Which was another component of suppressed emotion for me. And, or the hives, I still have a couple points that are hive triggers, and I'll find myself like right here, I'll find myself scratching a little bit. I'm like, all right, what was I just not paying attention to? Was there something that triggered me? But it took a few years in going through a contentious divorce to really learn how to manage that stuff from the inside out. Like I said earlier, there wasn't any doctor that could give me enough goop to put on my hives to make my rage go away. I had to do that inner work. So, yeah. So, and now I because I did the inner work, I am happier because I did work out not all, okay, hello, there's lots of garbage, right? But some of the garbage, so I could come out of the divorce feeling happier and healthier and loving myself more than I ever had and respecting myself, which I didn't have that until I had to go into those deep, dark pockets of whatever and dig it out, right?
Right. Yes, absolutely.
I think a lot of us, it might be the family of origin conditioning, but I think a lot of us we feel safer, right? When we cover up that stuff, like don't let myself be vulnerable because, whatever the idea is, whatever the thought form is, if I show weakness, somebody's going to grab my underbelly, or if I show weakness, they're going to take over my life. Kind of whatever those thoughts are, right?
Well, I just recorded a little episode this morning on the podcast, and I talked about that very thing about how oftentimes we think that if we hold on to something that gives us strength. We're holding on forever, right? But the strength is actually in the letting go. Exactly.
And and what you're talking about is letting go, which is surrendering. And it's, in olden days, the surrendering meant you had to put down your arms, right? And then lay down those weapons. But in current time, it really is about surrendering the ego, surrendering what we think is our best way of figuring it out. And for me, what it feels like is dropping into my heart. And so for me, it's about surrendering into the love within me, into the light within me, which I think is true for every human being. We all have light and love within us. We just have to learn how to access it, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. Yeah, I saw a little quote this morning too, and it was from Shakespeare. I can't remember exactly the way it goes, but it was, nothing is good or bad, it's only what we think about it.
That's right.
So that's a bit of a paraphrase because it's not 100%, but...
No, but I get it. I know what you're talking about. in my olden days, I would have been able to tell you which play that was from, but those brain cells got kind of eroded. But so then, can we riff a bit on
Sure.
what you just said of that quote? There is no good or bad.
Sure, absolutely.
Because what you said earlier at the beginning of there's the masculine and then there's the feminine. That okay, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about, like, because I think that this, I'm just going to say it straight up. This is my opinion. It's not documented. I'm not fact-based, but I really believe that this entire virus, pandemic, quarantine experience that is happening globally is because there is an old paradigm that has collapsed. And
Absolutely.
we are having to shelter in place to kind of get caught up with that new, I'm doing this, that new, I want to say vibration of truth, of love, that it's changing us fundamentally from the inside out.
Definitely. Well, I think the frequency of the Earth has been changing over time, but I think it's picked up speed in the last, let's say, definitely 25 years or 10 years.
Yeah.
I can feel it. And I know even 10 years ago when I started talking about some of this woo-woo stuff sometimes, the things I wanted to put into place then, but just wasn't ready to do anything. And I would see people moving forward. And I'm going, wow, I'm going to miss the boat,
Oh.
It's with that feeling I had. But that's not the case. It's just a matter of being ready to deliver what you have to deliver to people at the right time when they're at the right time to hear it. So I think that I was a little bit mistaken there on missing the boat, but I could feel, bottom line, I could feel the vibrations changing and the frequency changing in the world. So there's definitely coming to a head of the kind of the old world way of thinking about a lot of things. And hopefully we'll, as we move forward through this, things will change.
So I want to share with you, Mike, and we've talked about sacred geometry a bit. And, so like 10 years ago, I was reading a book by Ken Wilber. Are you familiar with him? Okay, so in this book, it's integrated. I can see the cover. Anyway, he was talking about Maslow's pyramid of needs, right? And the bottom of that is survival, and the top of it is attainment. Right, consciousness. Well, then Ken Wilber in this particular book, and a few other people have affirmed it. Barbara Marx Hubbard was one. I used to interview her quite a bit on my show. Nice. But there's an inverted pyramid above that. And that's where we're going. And this is in this is in a higher dimensional thing. I don't know what the levels are, but it's so we have, it's not just that we've come to the head of it. We're already in the new paradigm of it. We're already moving up into those other vibrational tones, since you're talking about vibrations, and that's kind of hard to explain to people who haven't felt them.
No, exactly. But we are, I believe, to be interdimensional beings. So we move through dimensions, maybe even sometimes in our sleep, where that's where we go when we dream, or what have you. Your soul leaves the body and goes to another dimension and comes back as well. So those are all things that are maybe be a little bit of conjecture for some folks. Myself, it's my personal beliefs, and I did put that in part of my spiritual message in my book as well. And it's all for everybody to, and I also always say that just whatever resonates with you, keep it, and whatever doesn't, dump it for now, because there's been lots that happened to me too that I didn't get that, or that didn't resonate with me. Then a year later, I'd read it again and go, yeah, that's right. So it's just a matter of timing. And it's not an overnight journey, that's for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that, I used to joke with my students, I'd pull out a book off my shelf that I'd read like 4 or 5 times, and I'd open up again, and those little gremlins or munchkins got in there and rewrote the entire book. even though I'd read it 3 or 4 times. I was like, wait, I underlined it, I highlighted it, and then I read it again, and there was some brand new stuff, right?
That's right. That's right.
And that just to me is speaking to the evolution of consciousness. And the more we do this deep inner work, the higher, bigger, deeper the consciousness grows and expands within us. And then we're more receptive to hearing things that maybe we weren't earlier on, because there's also the what you were talking about of letting go. There's a place that's so vitally important of surrendering the garbage, getting rid of the garbage that's in your head and the garbage that's in your energetic field, because in my experience now, I guess I get to talk about this, my unexpressed emotions became dis-ease in my body.
Certainly.
And so then it was compounding the things I was ignoring, because now I had an attention grabber. Oh my God, I'm diabetic, or oh my God, I got this, right. And then that keeps your mind or the ego so busy that you forget about, oh wait, I'm doing this inner work. And the inner work is, for anybody, any human being on the planet, is really important, especially at this time, because it is about all of us, I'm going to say it, need to be on fire, right?
Yes, right on.
We all need to be on fire, but it's an inner light. It's a fire from within that has guided us through the eons of time, through all different cultures and time frames. So to be aligned with that inner fire or that inner light is, I think, really important. And it's so timely that your podcast is out there now, Mike.
Yes, no, absolutely. And I think even I saw a word you used on your website of excavating feelings, and it's the exact same word I used to introduce my podcast about excavate. Like I picture like a container within us, let's say, and men tend to do beliefs and training, and how we've been brought up many times is to repress your feelings. You're a man, you're strong, don't show any feeling. So it's been repressed and crammed down into this container. And I mentioned it's like a backhoe where you're excavating those repressed feelings out. And then what can we fill back in that container? The joy and the love and the light and different things. And then we constantly have to do that work, though, because it always will get filled up with some more repressed feelings. Right. Because it's not an overnight switch.
Right. I mean, you're constantly having to take your garbage out to the street, right? Some people go, oh, well, no, but I'm composting. Well, fine, compost away. Just put the garbage outside of you. Exactly.
Now, I wanted to ask you about your empathic self. So you mentioned that you had discovered when you were a child that you had certain feelings, and I wondered maybe if you just touch on how that came about and how it affects you, or affected you then and affects you now.
I can talk about now in the sense of, I was just talking to a friend earlier today of, with this whole virus thing, I went to the market yesterday, right? And in California, and I'm sure it's true where you are, there's now the rule that everybody has to wear a mask. And I thought when I went to the market, I didn't have a mask. I have a mask. I don't know where it is. And they were even wearing masks in their car when they're driving by themselves.
I've seen that.
Who are you keeping the stuff away from? Or you just don't want your own breath. Anyway, that I digress. So, but I found myself when I came home, and then this morning after meditation, I was feeling like there's a low grade anxiety, fear, that waiting for the shoe to drop thing. Right. And I had to really check myself, because that's not mine. I really work hard not to believe in fear. And when it begins to show up in my body or my mind, again, it's one of those things that creates dis-ease, right? So you don't feel easy. Right. So, so this empathic thing, well, it's, for me, really helps me when I'm working with clients to hear, hear very deeply what it is. most people, it takes a while before they get to the nut of what their issue is or
Certainly.
issues.
Certainly.
And so I do tap into my empathic ability to hear what's really wanting to be said for healing, right? Or what is really wanting to come up as part of that garbage that has to, be gone. But when I was a kid, I think I scared people. I still think, I mean, honestly, I really think I do. That's unfortunate. But only because when I was a kid, I could stand next to somebody and I could feel what was going on with them. And then I would say something, little kids don't have a filter.
No, exactly.
But boy, did I get a filter and a clamp on my mouth and a don't say those things or don't do those things. Now mind you, I'm not necessarily psychic, but it's the feeling. Empaths are more of the feeling.
That's right. Yes.
And even today, I have to watch myself. My son will come over for a visit, and I look at him, and I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?"
Yeah.
And it's, he's like, "Mom," I'm like, "Okay, I won't ask you. You're going to tell me, though, right? At some point." "Yeah, Mom, I'll tell you." And I have to watch that because it's a gift and it's hindrance sometimes.
Well, some people aren't ready for it, and it's just it's disarming almost to suddenly have that. Oh, they know something about me.
Yeah, I tend to be very straight up. So.
Well, that's a good thing too.
I
personally
hope so. I think so. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate that.
I mean, as long as you're not rude. Because I did listen to one of your podcasts. I think it was with the letter O of Empower.
Oh.
And you were talking about integrity, which is a huge thing with me. And I loved what you talked about and the definitions and that. And I think that some people, though, the current movement in the last number of years I've seen about authenticity and people saying things and saying, "No, I'm just being authentic." And I'm thinking, "No, you're just being rude." Really, or mean. That's honestly, you're using that as a shield in order to attack somebody because you don't like what they did or said. Instead of thinking about it and then coming through in a different way to
that A word has kind of I'm not interested in that anymore. I'm interested if you want to be one-on-one vulnerable with me and share your heart and share your soul. That's interesting to me now. That's where I know I can contact the divine in you, in someone else, but to say, "Oh, I'm authentic." I've seen so many people say they're authentic and they're full of it.
Absolutely. No, I agree. I mean, integrity, you have to have integrity with yourself before you can have integrity with somebody else.
Yes.
So have integrity with yourself. If you did, you wouldn't be saying those things that you're saying and hiding behind the mask of authenticity. I mean, I'm all for being authentic. Be yourself. That's great. But, do it with
integrity. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I was wondering if maybe there was, if you had some tip that you give people, or 3 tips on living an inspired and empowered life, or something along those lines, what you might tell people that would be important.
Yeah. For me, it is taking time daily, even if it's for 5 minutes, to well, I was going to say to get still, but even sometimes my mind just runs rampant sometimes. But even just to sit quietly and tune into your body and tune into your heart. That's my big focus now. That's what I teach my clients and students, is to tune into your heart space, because that's where wisdom, that's where truth, that's where love, that's where light, that's where it all resides. It's not,
absolutely.
It's not up here in the head. It's not even in the third eye, which was celebrated for centuries, right? Yes. It's about opening up your heart and being at one with yourself in your heart. So that would be one thing. If it's a meditation or just, sitting outside and looking at the birds and the trees and all that, or, but that's, I think, huge for us. And this sheltering in place thing is giving you all sorts of time to do that. But another thing for me is to journal. I don't know if that's a girl thing, Mike, but to journal your brains out.
It can be more so, I think, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah,
we were trained. A female thing.
We were trained to have a diary, and
yes.
write about the boys we liked, and stuff like that.
That's true. Yeah.
You know, so I started journaling when I was 15.
Nice.
So
yeah.
But what I find now is to use the act of journaling to write out the garbage that's in your head. Write the story you're telling yourself. Write it out. I think that guy, my ex-husband, my ex-wife, la 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 la. Because when we don't empty out the head space or the heart space, it just, now I'm going back to composting and mulching. It just multiplies it, right?
Absolutely.
I actually read, I can't think of where it was now. Oh, The Book of Mastery by Paul Selig. Excellent book, everybody. Okay. And in it, they were saying that when you bless someone, right? When you send someone love, it helps uplift them, and it raises their vibration. It raises their consciousness level, right. Even if you never say it out loud to them. Mm-hmm. And when you curse someone, when you say, I don't like him, and when you are mean-spirited, yes. What you do is you have then sent that idea or thought into the darkness, and in darkness, things multiply. Mm-hmm. So it's so important, even the people that you don't respect or care about or, that have harmed you, it's really important to find a loving kindness within your heart to bless them, for lack of a better word, to send them some love, because
absolutely.
You don't want that multiplying.
No, and we don't have to, sometimes we get hung up on forgiveness and stuff, but it's not necessarily forgiveness, it's just understanding and yes. saying, that person may not ever change.
Right.
What they did to me was perhaps what I thought they shouldn't have done, but that's fine too. Again, there you go. You can't hang on to something. You let it go, mm-hmm. and just say, that's okay. I bless that and let them go, bless them with love and move on, instead of hanging on.
Yeah. So do you think that part of the letting go is part of integrating, going back to the male, female, mm-hmm. The dark, the light? Is the letting go part of the thing that then becomes the coherence of that allows you to integrate whatever deeper wisdom was underneath that experience?
Well, I think it's definitely a big part of men's journey, because mm-hmm. we're not programmed to, for lack of a better word, to do that. We hang on to things and beliefs that are handed down to us over the generations, that we're supposed to act a certain way, and part of that is being a strong male figure, provider, whatever you want to do or say about that. And we don't often let go. We don't mm-hmm. want to let things go. We'll fight somebody for the stupidest things. You're growing up as a kid in school, you get in a silly fight in a schoolyard. Yeah, it's not a big scrap, maybe, but it's over stupid stuff that you won't let go. But we've been trained to do that, and that's where we're using our emotions to guide us instead of, like you said, our heart, and our soul, and listen to our soul's desire and what our heart wants, which is much more prevalent in females, I believe, than it is in men.
Well,
at least not all men. This is just generalities, of course.
Right, of course. And I'll share with you that when I was going through the divorce and those emotions would show up, it totally jacked me into my head, mm-hmm. right? So why am I feeling this way? What can I do to change it? How can I fix it? Oh my God, how many more papers do I need to provide to the lawyer? Yeah, la la la. And
I went through the same thing. So
it took me completely out of the truth of who I am.
Absolutely.
So emotions are. They need to be respected. They need to be
celebrated.
Right.
But you also have to let them go.
Right. And that sometimes is in the expression of them in a conscious, healthy way. Mm-hmm. But also witnessing yourself. It's like almost like standing. It's allowing your higher self to stand witness for you as the incarnated human being right now, who chose to be here at this time to live this particular journey for whatever friggin' reason. I have questions,
Yes.
but and to allow that higher self to be your witness and your guide is really important. And I think that one other thing I would say, Mike, is as you become more awake and aware within, then it becomes a little easier to let go of the hurts and the harm and the shoulds and why didn't I? And in this current climate, it is the way we men and women were programmed to operate for the last 3,000-4,000 plus years.
Exactly.
It no longer serves, and that's why we're seeing the fear factor. That's why we're seeing what appears to be economies shutting down or collapsing, or people getting laid off. It is the universe and the earth saying this has got to stop, and you guys all have to wake up. And I believe that absolutely.
No, definitely.
I would imagine there will be people that leave when they get to leave their home and go back to what they think is their normal life. Mm-hmm. There's going to be more shocks because there's not going to be a normal life anymore. The good news is we get to co-create that, right, Mike?
Absolutely. And we're not used to, or many people aren't used to co-creating their own world, right?
No.
We've this is what we do. We've got the house, the car, the wife, the whatever it is, and job, and we go there and we come back. And most of our work lives, we don't enjoy the work, but we continue to do it because it gives us cash to consume things, to be consumers, and that's where we're going to graduate away from, and have the ability to more co-create a life that we would really like to see.
Right. And I think that's the key component. Co-creating a life we really want to see, co-creating a life we really want to live, not having co-created a life because we thought we were supposed to do it that way.
Right. Exactly. And I love what you said about, your mind, even now, your mind goes and goes and goes, which mine does all the time too. So it's not, because you try to talk a little bit about being silent and meditation. But that again is not, not a switch either. It takes time to try to get into that mode. And some days I can't even meditate because there's just too much going on.
Exactly.
And so it's okay to be like that. You don't have to, cut yourself down for that.
Right.
And so I'm glad you mentioned that. But I also wanted to ask you one last question: is on the days that you, let's say, because kind of in that theme, on the days that you don't feel as empowered as you normally are, because we all, have days that we can feel our energy's a little lower than others. How do you handle that, or do you have a little thing that you do or perform or might recommend to the folks?
Well, I don't know if this is going to help the guys listening to your podcast, but oftentimes if I find myself feeling less empowered, I sit down and have a good pity cry. Oh
I think it would help the guys a lot, really.
Right. I lost my power. Where is it? Which is silly, but oftentimes that's it for me. Sitting down and just having a good cry, or but again, also journaling out what it is I'm feeling. I'm not feeling empowered. Why am I not? What is causing this? Is it, and again, being empathic, is it me? Because sometimes if I'm not feeling empowered, it could be somebody that I had just talked to is feeling that. This sounds strange, but anyway, but also it is about going back down into that heart space and loving myself up again from the inside out, loving myself up, because there isn't anyone outside of us, and I know you feel this way too, that is going to change us or love us. It goes back to the consumerism. If I can eat enough, or if I can have as many partners as I think I want to have, all of that is an external trying to fill a hole that is within you. And
absolutely.
And a lot of people are afraid of investigating that hole within, and that hole within is actually whole, right?
Yes.
WHOLE. It is all of you. And even if there's those dark corners, that's all still part of you. And so when there's days where I'm not feeling quite so empowered, sometimes I have to go and investigate what's been pushed aside into those dark corners of my soul or my mind or, my heart, and see what is it, and do I need to integrate it, or do I need to really let it go, like you say?
Right. Excellent. Thank you so much for imparting some wisdom on us.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And I was wondering, I know you have a book as well, and if you wanted to mention that.
I do. I don't know if it's backwards or frontwards.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Oh, good. It's called Live an Empowered Life, a 30-Day Journey. And when I wrote it, I thought that, easy peasy, we can do this in 30 days. Well, it's based on all my experiences, skill sets that I used when I was going through that divorce, and that divorce took me 4 years. So
right.
I don't know what I was thinking 30 days, but it's actually full of journaling prompts to get your garbage out of your head, affirmations that I wrote and worked, and then also there's videos. So there's videos that go back and forth between my website and the book. You're prompted to watch some videos, listen to some guided meditations specific to getting out of the box, right? Getting out of your head, getting all that stuff out. And I'm finding that lots of people that are doing it, people that aren't really drawn to the work that we do,
right,
are like at the end of the book going, oh my God, I learned something about myself I never knew. And I thought I loved myself, So it helps uncover. I wrote it deliberately to excavate, right?
Yes.
To dig deep and excavate the stuff that's holding you back from really living a life that's full of freedom and brilliance and opulence and richness, and all, because that's really what we're all divine beings, and really that's what we're here to do. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're royalty.
Yeah.
Right. So our divine selves would like to experience everything, and we shouldn't ignore that.
Well, and it's funny, I wrote a blog today, and it is about activating the light within you and activating light leaders, because as we come out of this, there's many of us that there's no mistake that we have the biggest population currently, right? And because so many of us wanted to incarnate at this time to lead us into the brotherhood of man, right?
Right.
Into that humanity that is really the purpose of all of us being here on planet Earth. And so there's many light leaders that, I'm raising my hand, that we were hiding, right? It was like, don't, especially hiding, don't look at me because I, and now it's just time, take off the veil or whatever, get yourself out of that fog.
Definitely.
And activate your heart center where light and wisdom live, because we're all here in this together to co-create a new humanity. This is my opinion again, Mike, but that's that new humanity is about embracing each other, all of us on the planet. There are no borders. There is diversity, and that's a good thing. Just like there's so many different colors in a prism, right?
Right.
So it's about being loving and kind to one another. It's about being honest, having integrity, and supporting each other in our transformation. And there's no longer, the old paradigm was us versus them.
Right. Yeah.
Me against you.
Definitely.
This is how the patriarchal paradigm was. And the new paradigm that we're all in, whether you're a man or a woman this time around, is that feminine, which embraces all things, while it also shapes you up to get that other stuff out,
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I think so.
So if people want to get a hold of you, what would be the best spot, or
Oh,
how can they get a hold of you the
yeah.
best?
Thanks for asking. Go to Susan Burrell, BURRELL.com. You can see what else I'm up to. I have empowering chats with Susan Burrell that you can find on any of your podcast things, platforms, whatever.
Mhm.
And can I give you your guests, people that are listening, Mike? Can I give them a gift?
Absolutely.
Okay, you're gonna put this in your show notes for them.
Yes.
I have a guided meditation that I created for a client many years ago who was struggling with her business partner.
Mhm.
And, she called me on a one-off. Oh, I don't know what you do, but can you just help me? So all of a sudden this guided meditation downloaded. I was like, well, damn, that was good.
Yeah.
So it's called Out of the Box Thinking. And they can go to susanburrell.com/free-gift-meditation, and you can download the meditation and listen to it as often as possible. And I will share, just to finish that piece, is that the woman called me within 24 hours and said that because she had gotten out of her box
Right.
of how she thought she was supposed to do business with this business partner, she said, oh my God, within 4 hours, my partner called me and said, I think we need to redo how we do business, and let's figure this out together. And
Wow.
their business is soaring now.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So just getting out of the box, getting out of your head.
Exactly. No, absolutely. Well, Susan, thank you so much for being my very first guest on Men on Fire.
It was so much fun, Mike.
Good.
I can't wait to hear what other Men on Fire people you're going to have on.
Yes, well, I'll definitely let you know.
And may I say something to you, Mike?
Absolutely.
And I have chills as I'm saying this. I want to honor you by being a very strong, masculine man who has chosen to grow beyond the old paradigm and become a light leader. I honor that within you, Mike. I'm so grateful that you're here doing this for so many people that are going to be accessing what you have to say. So thank you very much.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate
means a
that
lot.
from the heart. Thank you. Great. Well, thanks again, Susan, and we'll end it here now.
Okay.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. As always, keep what feels good and dump what doesn't. And remember, live without judgment, give without expectation, and love for no reason. Follow those 3 simple expressions, and you'll be well on your way to an inspirational, intentional, and successful life. Until next time, you're the one.